It's not just manufacturing President Trump is looking to bring back to the U.S. Mineral mining now coming into focus as the White House tries to lessen its reliance on China for raw materials. Pippa Stevens is live at a copper refinery near Salt Lake City with more on this. Pippa.
Hey, Melissa. So the U.S. imports about 50% of refined copper demand. And so with resource nationalism on the rise, domestic operations like Rio Tinto's Kennecott mine are becoming increasingly important to satisfy that demand. All of this copper here has been processed. It's ready to go. But the first step is actually getting it out of the ground. What you see there is one of Rio Tinto's blasts. They carry out one of these every single day, creating more than 500,000 tons of new ore. That's equivalent to 10,000 humpback whales. There were 120 holes drilled there with 1,600 pounds of explosives per hole. So that was the first step. This is the final step. All this copper has now gone through the crusher, the concentrator, the smelter, and the refiner. It is ready to be shipped out. About 11 rail cars pull up every single day to ship this out all across the Midwest, the East Coast, even up to Canada. This whole process takes about 2 weeks, and the copper in here, more than 3 million pounds, it's worth, Melissa, about $15 million.
Wow. Pippa, in terms of the input costs, I would imagine that energy is one of the biggest input costs for a lot of this, and that's down, right? So margins are pretty good right now for Rio Tinto on copper.
So energy costs are certainly a big consideration for mining, and that's why a lot of that production has moved abroad to places where it is cheaper, like China. But actually here at Kennecott, Rio has really worked to decrease their carbon footprint. So they moved over to renewable diesel for all of their tractors. They also have a solar plant in order to power it, decarbonization, and then also decrease their operating costs. But on the margin point, what's interesting is that actually the smelters and the refiners, those have by far the thinnest margins across the industry. A lot of the money is made at the mine itself. Even though it's so capital intensive, getting that resource out is where the mine is. And so that's also why we are seeing a lag in U.S. smelting and refining capacity. The margins are just not there. And while there is so much focus on the upstream, on the mine itself, there's got to be more focus on bringing facilities like this one online if we really want to satisfy some of our raw material needs.
And in terms of the refiner, I would imagine that it takes a lot of permits, it takes a lot of capital, and nobody wants that in their backyard.
Exactly. There is not a lot of political appetite, social appetite to have one of these in their backyard. There's also not a lot of appetite to have one of these, one of the mines themselves in your backyard. And so those are some of the challenges facing the industry. And there is a lot of federal support now for all of these things. But one thing the mining industry continuously talks about is a lack of cohesion between all of these federal agencies. You have to double up on your paperwork constantly. It just takes forever. There is a reason why the U.S. is so slow, because of those inefficiencies. You look at places like Australia and Canada, their mines take a long time too, but they ultimately come online. What's really the biggest barrier for the U.S. mining industry is that uncertainty. You have no idea what your litigation risk is. You have no idea what your permitting risk is. And that's why a lot of players just are not looking at the U.S. right now.
How many humpback whales again, Pippa? That really stood out to me.
It's 10,000. 10,000.
Yeah.
So
I didn't realize humpback whale was like a
500.
standard unit of measurement. So I thought that was fascinating.
Elephants, humpback whales, they're both really big.
Yes, exactly. We get the point for sure. Pippa, outstanding work. Thank you so much. Pippa Stevens.